Look at how easy that was. Black people did not build America, and they do not deserve reparations. Thank you.
It never fails. Black people can be somewhere minding their own black-ass business, and some Neanderthalic, narcissistic, nauseating, nondescript, nefarious numbnut escapee from the Caucasus Mountains by way of ne'er-do-well will come along and try to bother our peace. So Casper the Friendly Ghost Hayden here decided to show us how easy it was to pick a whole bulb of cotton, knowing that his hyperallergenic to the sun ass would have stayed out there for more than 30 minutes, he would have been dead of skin cancer by the end of the year. See, Hayden, you made this video because you were laying at home and you realized that you were alone because 3 inches is not enough to get any job done that she needs done. Also, I wish your hyperallergenic to the sun, melon-deficiated ancestors would have thought picking cotton or tobacco was just as easy as you tried to make it seem. Because if they would have thought that, they would have tried to do it themselves. And then we wouldn't be sitting here now in the condition that this country is in with racial disparity, because all your ancestors would have already died out because of skin cancer. I said what I said, and you have the day your 3 inches brings you.
Do support compensation for those families. Should the U.S. also compensate descendants of enslaved people? Do you support reparations for African Americans?
I support H.R. 40, which is the bill that has been proposed in Congress to establish a commission to look at reparations. But we shouldn't wait for that commission to do its work to do things that are reparative. Remember, we're not talking about a gift to anybody. We're talking about mending what was broken. We're talking about the generational theft of the wealth of generations of African Americans. And just crossing out a racist policy and replacing it with a neutral one is not enough to deliver equality. Harms compound, just like a dollar saved in its value compounds over time. So does the value of a dollar stolen. And that is why the United States must act immediately with investments in minority-owned businesses, with investments in health equity, with investments in HBCUs, and on the longer term, look at reparations so that we can mend what has been broken.
Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode. I really do appreciate your love and support on this channel. So when people hear about the word reparation, they think about charity, free money, a handout, but that is not what it is. Reparation is a debt. And on our today's episode, I'm going to share some receipts showing how the government of the United States of America owns debt Black Americans, from stolen labor to modern policies that locked Black families and are still locking Black families out of wealth, and also showing you that paying this debt back isn't just the right thing to do, but it's a smart way to economics. So let's just dive right ahead and watch our today's video. Every clip and every stitch that you'll be seeing on our today's episode, credits belongs to the original creators of these videos that you're seeing on your screens. So I want us to watch these. I would really love to know what your take or what your thoughts are on the comment section, especially if you're a European American watching this, or if you're a Black American watching this. So let's just dive right ahead and we'll come back with more.
When white people in the United States balk at the idea of paying reparations to Black Americans who descended from slaves, they disagree with the Bible. To begin with, let's first define what reparations mean. Reparations are a form of compensation or restitution made to those who have suffered injustice, specifically in cases of racial inequality, discrimination, and slavery. The idea of paying reparations to Black Americans is not a new one. It has been a topic of discussion for decades, if not centuries. However, it has gained renewed attention and support in recent years. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also advocated for reparations in the form of economic advancement for Black Americans. As a Christian, I believe that reparations are not only a matter of justice and equality, but also a reflection of God's character. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's concern for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the downtrodden. From the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt to Jesus' ministry among the poor and the outcast, we see a consistent theme of God's love for those who are on the margins of society. One of the key biblical principles that underlie the idea of reparations is the concept of restitution. In the book of Leviticus, we see God commanding the Israelites to make restitution to those whom they have wronged. Leviticus chapter 6 says that if anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor or found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely, he shall restore it in full and shall add a fifth to it and give it to him to whom it belongs. This passage emphasizes the importance of making restitution to those who have been wronged, and not just restoring what has been taken, but adding to it as a form of compensation. This principle of restitution can be applied to the issue of reparations to Black Americans who have suffered centuries of enslavement, discrimination, and systemic oppression. Another biblical principle that supports the idea of reparations is the concept of Jubilee. In Leviticus chapter 25, God commands to the Israelites to observe a Jubilee. This was a radical idea of economic justice designed to prevent the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few and to ensure that all members of society had equal access to resources and opportunities. The idea of Jubilee can be seen as a model for reparations in that it seeks to address the root causes of inequality and oppression rather than just treating the symptoms. By forgiving debts, freeing slaves, and returning property, Jubilee seeks to create a more just and equitable society, one in which everyone has the opportunity to flourish. As a Christian, I believe that paying reparations to Black Americans is not only a matter of justice and equity, but also a reflection of God's character and values. Through the biblical principles of restitution and Jubilee, we see a model for how we can address the historical and systemic injustices that have plagued our society for far too long. While the issue of reparations is complex and contentious, I believe that as Christians, we have a responsibility to seek justice.
So we're talking about the de-MAGAification of America, which will happen one day, I hope. And I'll make special note that the MAGA people have really enjoyed this series so far. And they'll like today, too. Part 5 of the things we should do is financial reparations. Now, I realize this is a very complicated subject, but we should pay reparations for anyone who's been harmed by slavery in the last 400 years, which means if you're the descendant of a slave, you should receive reparations. And I'll make note that a lot of people have called out Native Americans. I agree, they still are due more. They have received some reparations, not enough. The Japanese who were interned during World War II received $20,000 apiece. Not enough, but at least it was something from the government to make the apology mean something and to make it hurt, which it should. And I will aver that we will not, as a country, ever psychologically heal from the wound of slavery until we pay reparations. Now, let's talk about numbers. There are roughly 44 million Black people in the United States, and about 90% of them can prove that they are descended from slaves. So if we were to give every single one of those people who can prove they're descended from a slave a $10,000 tax-free check, we are talking about about $400 billion. That's less than 6% of our annual federal budget. And it would be a one-time thing. Now, $10,000 is not compensation. It's not enough to actually cover for the damages done by slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, the institutionalized racism in our justice system, and the myriad of other things that black people have experienced. So it's not compensation. It is simply a gesture to say, man, we were wrong and we are very sorry, and this hurts, but here you go. By the way, as a side note, this would probably be an incredible stimulus to our economy. Now, a lot of white people are going to react to this. They're going to complain. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. We need to recognize the privilege that we've gotten as a white, cisgendered, heterosexual male. I have had an enormous amount of privilege in my life that I didn't really recognize until the last 10 years or so. I have not had to work as hard as my black coworkers to get to the level of success that I have achieved. Has that been worth $10,000? Quite possibly. And we can't just mail people a check. It should come with a certificate of apology from the U.S. government with possibly the names of the people who were enslaved and the names of the slaveholders who owned them. It would be a meaningful thing that could be framed and hung in someone's house. And there should be a ceremony that is optional for anyone to attend where they can be given this from a government official. Because we need to be ashamed of our history, and we need to express that shame in something that is meaningful and painful. And until we do, that shame is going to express itself as resentment and hatred. And once we do this and hold ourselves accountable, we can lock arms, black and white, and move forward together proudly. Many people in my comments have said it's too late to do this. No, it's not. We should have done it how long ago? 100 years ago? 150 years ago? And it's not too late, and we have to do it, or else movements like the Trump movement are going to continue happening. Because racism hurts all of us, even us white people, and we should make sure that the South never rises again.
You know, when I came to America newly, I used to think African Americans are lazy. They don't want to work and all that. You will never understand the struggle of African Americans until you live in the system for 5 years. Then you understand that being black in the system is already playing you 10-0, like you are 10 steps behind. The schools in black neighborhoods, they are all underfunded. The only thing you can find anywhere, everywhere in black neighborhood is liquor store. Keep drinking and keep yourselves busy. Now I understand why everybody is fighting so much to live in white neighborhood. Before I used to say they are not proud of their skin color. They don't love who they are. But they're actually fighting for their children's future. Because being black in the system is already playing you 10-0. You are 10 steps behind. Is it you that is coming with underfunded certificates that want to be competing with somebody that is 10 steps ahead of you? Being black in the system is tough. You see, African Americans and Africans, we are all the same. Let us not be distracted. We are all the same. The only difference is that one is living in America, the other one is coming from Africa. Let's support each other's business. If you see your brother trying to make ends meet, support his business. You get to the point now. Peace and love.
You know, if America ever gave black people reparations, most of that money would end up in the wrong hands anyway. Drug dealers, extortionists, liquor store owners, and the legal system. Now, after most of these people get their clothes, shoes, and cars, they're gonna go out and buy the best drugs they can find. Addiction and overdose is gonna be through the roof. And then after they hit the club and buy a bunch of bottles or buy half the liquor store, they're gonna be having kickbacks and parties with a bunch of people that they don't like or even know. They're gonna be hanging around family members they don't even get along with, getting drunk, fighting, hurting, shooting each other. And then people gonna need to bond out of jail, pay lawyer fees, pay fines. And then on top of that, a lot of them gonna be getting extorted by gang members, by they no good, having kids for government aid ass parents, or they domestically violent boyfriends. Everybody don't need money is all I'm saying. Maybe a third of black folks need some money. Another third of them need education. And the last third of them just need opportunities. Because if you give us all some money, it'd probably be one of the worst things that ever happened to the black community, honestly.
Yeah, thank you for watching up to this part, guys. So I did a bit of my research, to understand, or have a different view on what I understand about reparation. And when we look at what the international human rights define reparation as, like, is reparation mean repairing harm caused by the state, and it's about restitution, giving back stolen property or wealth, compensation, paying for what was taken, rehabilitation like healthcare or education to undo the damage, and changing laws so it cannot happen again. But honestly, when it comes or talk about changing laws, yes, there are some laws that have been put there, but people are still doing the opposite of what's required of them doing. The systems are still doing the opposite of what's required of them doing when it comes to Black Americans, when it comes to schools, when it comes to jobs, and it's quite sad that it's still happening today. So when you say that Black Americans do not deserve reparation, like, the government of the United States of America does not owe Black Americans anything. Like, why did you pay reparation to others and left out Black people? Like, that is a question that you all should be asking before you come and create videos or call out Black people for, saying that they deserve reparation, because the US has done this before, and Black people will not be the first people will be them paying reparations to. Like in the 1988, Japanese Americans who were wrongfully imprisoned during World War II got a formal apology and $20,000 each. So don't tell me it's impossible, or don't come here and telling us it's impossible when it's actually been done before. You can go on ahead and research. There are other people that, got reparation from the government of the United States. So Black Americans also deserve it, and they should not be left out. So when we look at the harm that slavery caused, we cannot even finish talking about this topic in one video. So over 250 years of free labor worth trillions today, and this is what Black Americans are actually asking. That's wealth stolen and passed down, just not to Black Americans. And the harm did not stop just from slavery. In 1865, it evolved into policies that were just damaging, and some of the policies that we have till today that are still damaging to the Black Americans in the United States of America. In 1935, the first Social Security Act excluded domestic and agricultural workers. Guess who held those jobs? Mostly Black workers. So they didn't get to have Social Security back in those days, and it actually hurt them in so many ways, meaning they missed out on decades of retirement security. And you want to sit still there and say that Black people do not deserve reparation because picking cotton was easy, and all the other jobs that they used to do for free, it was easy, and so they did not help build America, or they do not deserve anyone paying them reparations. Then after that, it came redlining. The federal government really marked Black neighborhoods in red and told banks not to give them mortgages. No loans meant no homes in appreciating neighborhoods, no equity to pass down. It actually has reminded me of a movie I watched by the name Banker, which is actually based on a true story when it comes to redlining and how Black Americans used to be treated while trying, to build wealth and buying properties in, high-end neighborhoods. And it was so heartbreaking watching this movie, and it actually taught me a lot that I didn't know what was happening like in the past, because the movie is based on a true story. If you haven't watched it and you want to learn more about what used to happen, like the banks and redlining and all that, I suggest you go and check out that movie, and it will actually teach you a lot. And also, after World War II, the GI Bill should have been a ticket to the middle class, but Black veterans were blocked from colleges, refused home loans, and left out of wealth explosion their white peers enjoyed. Can you imagine? Like, you are serving a country, and you're putting your life out there for this country, like the veterans, and you still are left out of all these benefits just because of your skin color. And you want to sit here, or some people want to come create videos and say that Black Americans do not deserve reparations, or you want to sit there and say that Black Americans don't want to go to work, Black Americans are lazy, why do they want to sit and just keep on asking and saying that they deserve reparations? Like, can you imagine, like, wherever some white families are today, they are there, or the richness or the wealth that they have it because of the free labor that Black people are forced to for 250 years. So many of the things that actually European Americans are actually benefiting, it's because of the free labor that Black people had to put in back in those days, and also the policies that have been put there that actually still affecting Black people till to date. And you can clearly see that whatever they did in the past, this was not accident. They deliberately did this. They state sanctioned systems to keep Black people from building wealth, which is still being done today in the United States of America, if we just want to be honest with how the system is working. You saw how they rolled back on DEI because they thought this was actually benefiting Black Americans. Anyway, in short, any policies that have been put out there to benefit Black Americans and minorities in the United States of America, they don't benefit them. They always benefit the European Americans first, and the people that these policies have been put there to benefit them always gets the last of the benefits, close to nothing. And how is that damage in today's world in the United States of America? It's been said that the results in hard numbers. Today, the median white household has over 220,000 US dollars more in wealth than the median Black household. And economists have say that if the government of the United States of America chose to close this gap of paying reparation, economists say that the US economy could grow by as much as 1.5 trillion in a single year. It's not that it's not possible, it's just that they don't want to do it. And the reason as to why they don't want to do it, or they don't want to pay reparations to Black Americans, is just basically racism. I don't find any other way that we can, put this as to what excuses they have of not paying Black Americans reparations. Because remember, they have already done reparations before. In 1988, the 20,000 US dollars to Japanese Americans in camps. 2015, cash, therapy, and public memorials for Chicago police torture victim. But the big question is, will they do or pay reparations to Black Americans, or why are Black Americans are the only ones left out when it comes to paying reparations? Every time I see people doing these videos on the comment section, especially on TikTok or different social media platforms, people keep on asking, like, how then do we pay reparations, or how do Black Americans expect to, get the reparations? And I also was trying to understand that, and I did a little bit of research, and it could be direct cash payments to descendants of enslaved people, down payment grants and low interest mortgages to make home ownership possible, debt relief for those blocked from wealth by discriminatory policies, business funding, and even land returns where property was stolen. And there is a lot of Black Americans' property that was stolen and also destroyed, and community healing programs to address the trauma. Because actually this is quite important, because I saw another Black American creating a video and saying that they do not deserve reparation because at the end of the day, if these people are given this money, some of them would not know on how to do with that money, or they just waste it and a lot. And so this would be actually also good, having community healing programs to address the trauma. I can just say this isn't just about money, but it's a matter of putting back wealth building tools back in the hands of Black Americans for them to have a start and move forward with their life. Because when you keep on asking them, why can they just not forget about slavery and whatever happened in the past? It's not easy when the system is still hurting them, systematic racism. Policies that are put there to benefit them don't even benefit them in any way. And we've clearly seen these happening, like affirmative actions. We've seen what has happened to DEI initiatives, and they were actually not that benefiting to Black Americans, but to other races in the United States of America. So when white people come and say that my family didn't own slaves and so I don't owe anything to Black Americans, but this isn't just about slavery. It's about government policies that advantage some and disadvantage others for generations, like Black Americans. So when you come and say it's also complicated for, people on how to pay reparation, the government runs Social Security, it runs Medicare, it runs IRS. So it's just a political will and people, being willing to do that. Instead of just coming up with excuses, we already know that it's because they're not willing. It's not just because it's complicated. Looking at white people saying this will not actually change anything, and I got to learn that wealth isn't just income, it's assets. Reparations give the capital needed to finally break the cycle of exclusion. This is actually more about repairing undocumented harm, honoring the promises America made to its people, and building the future where opportunity is real and not just a slogan. I don't know what you all think about this on our today's episode. I really want to know what you think after watching this video up to this part, especially if you're a European American or a person who's been saying that Black people do not deserve reparation. Let me know what you think after watching this episode.